It's Thursday, March 30th, and it's time for Island Tea. And to get things started, we're going to be spinning some tea with Peter Wickham, all the way over in Bimshaw.
Yes.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Peter is actually rearing and ready to go. He's there smiling, chewing away. And
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, it's wonderful.
A little further away than that.
What's up, Peter? Jamster.
Peter,
Hey,
good morning.
Hey, how are you doing?
Yes.
Good to
I'm
be,
cool.
Good to be with you.
We're good.
Morning.
I don't think you've met Candisie Franklin, my co-host for the program. Candisie, Peter, Candisie.
Nice to meet you, Peter. How are you?
Hi, Candicie. Nice to meet you as well. Yes, this will be the first time I'm speaking.
Definitely.
Yes. So, Peter, there's a lot of things going on, especially on the political platform or the political arena. We have the People's Labour Party, led by the Honourable Dr. Timothy Harris. And since the election has passed, the People's Labour Party recently, just over a few days, I mean, the resignation letters are coming in by the day, it seems. And we've seen the resignation of Aquila Byron Nisbet, the former deputy political leader and candidate, constituency number 3 of the PLP. We've seen the resignation of Nubian Griot, former candidate for constituency number 2 for the PLP. We've seen the resignation of Andrew Talbot Bass, former candidate for the PLP in constituency number 8. And we've also seen the resignation of Warren Thompson, the former National Party chairman. And curious minds would like to know your opinion. I mean, a lot of persons on the ground are saying that this seems like the PLP is self-destructing. I know there are other persons who feel as though that, the diehard supporters is like, let them go. We could do without them. You understand? And then there are persons who are saying that this is an opportunity for the People's Action Movement to secure itself as the main opposition within St. Kitts. So what are your thoughts on the resignation and the situation, considering that PLP has announced that they're going to have their convention on June 27th, even in light of all of these resignations?
Yeah. Thanks for joining. Well, thanks for inviting me, and I'm happy to speak to the issue. And it does, I think, on the face of it, it does seem quite dire. I just remind that within the Caribbean, it is not unusual when a political party fails to win for it to clear the decks in respect of all of the persons who were candidates and never made the grade. In that regard, the fact that you have resignations from people who did not succeed at the polls, I think, is the most significant observation. The key person in the People's Labour Party is Dr. Timothy Harris. I haven't heard of him resigning. And against that background, I'm less concerned about the future of the PLP once he continues to be there. The reality is a lot of these persons who associated with the PLP did so at a time when it was in government, and it was in a position to offer certain benefits to individuals to be part of the team. Akina Byron Nisbet, no less. This is a person who, came in as a senator, had a ministry, and she served with some distinction as a minister, took on quite a bit of responsibility. She lost the seat, and now she's declared that the party has lost its way. So presumably a year ago, the party was finding its way. Now the party has lost its way. So it just seems a bit convenient. I am not losing too much sleep. I continue to argue that for me, the big conversation in terms of opposition politics in St. Kitts really is surrounding the People's Action Movement. People's Action Movement held government in coalition. People's Action Movement has essentially fallen from grace. And I think that, we continue to ask questions of the PLP. when the reality is that the PLP, it was in government. They won two elections, increased the seat count on the second occasion, were able to control the prime ministership for two election cycles, and then it fell out of favor. But to me, that is, ultimately the PLP has some soul searching to do. But on the face of it, it still commands more support nationally than the People's Action Movement.
But
And my sense is that the conversation really has to be focused more so on what Dr. Harris is going to do in terms of his fleet renewal, and what his intentions are in terms of the next election. And then on the other side, we need to hear from the People's Action Movement regarding what it plans to do going forward, and how it plans to strategize.
But Peter, as you indicated before, the People's Labour Party is it's a young party, just in inception for, let's say, 7 years, going on perhaps 8. You look at the People's Labour Party and you know that you note its success, but you in no doubt would agree that much of its success came while it held the reins of government. This is the situation where the People's Labour Party and the People's Action Movement are now in the opposition. They hold 1 seat each. Do you think that the People's Labour Party would be attractive to the people here in St. Kitts to garner the support that they have had, or it has had over the past years, considering it is in opposition? It does not have the resources or influence of government as it once did.
I think what you're really asking is a question that the public will ultimately have to decide. Right now, and it sounds to me like this is where the conversation is going. We need to determine which of the two political parties in the opposition will collapse first, whether it will be PAM or whether it will be the PLP. You seem to be suggesting that the PLP seems better to collapse. And I think that there are persons in St. Kitts who believe that the PAM would be better to collapse. But ultimately, one of them needs to collapse. If not, both of them will continue to remain out of office. I'm comfortable with that analysis of the situation. And I'm also comfortable that at this stage, I don't get a sense that the People's PLP is interested in folding up and packing up and going away. And bear in mind, the People's Labour Party doesn't have a bad track record today. Now, I don't know whether this would be enough to attract people to it, but what I can say is that if it made another attempt in 5 years and failed, I don't know that the expectations would be that high. And my sense is that, the real concern is on the other side. But I can't answer your question definitively and say who people are more attracted to. Ultimately, petitions and divisions will determine, what they want to do going forward. But what I will say is that if the next election comes and neither of the two political organizations capitulates, then I think that they both will be slaughtered in the way that they were slaughtered before, and they will continue to entrench Labour Party for a longer period of time. So to me, the choice is theirs, and I do not get the sense that Dr. Harris is in a mood to say, okay, well, I'm going to pack it in and go home because all of these people who failed to succeed at the polls have decided that I am not, that they're resigning.
I noticed earlier in the conversation, Peter, that you mentioned that most people seem to think that PAM, that the Kittitian public was more akin to going with PLP, and that PAM was probably more on the verge of collapsing.
I don't think I said that.
I think you alluded to that earlier. Maybe I misinterpreted.
I said that I think that people are more interested in knowing what's going on in PAM. Because the point I'm making, and this is something I've been saying even before elections, going into this election, People's Action Movement had, it's the second oldest political organization in the country, and it has had a long and distinguished history, and sadly has been out of office for most of that history. Both times it has gained office recently, it has lost out as a result of the coalition falling apart. And my sense is that this is the reason that people are asking questions of the People's Action Movement. People's Action Movement had 4 MPs last time. People's Action Movement now has 1. And I'm saying that I think against that background, people are more interested in knowing what is happening in PAM. Will Sean Richards lead PAM into the next election? What is the reason that PAM is in the situation it is? Have you done a post-election analysis to understand why it is that last time around you had 4 seats, now you have one seat? Last time around you were part of a government. You broke up that and you promised that there were better things on the horizon, and here you are now with very little to show for it. So the question that I'm asking is not, I'm not saying that people are more inclined to one or the other. I'm saying that people are more curious to know what exactly is the future of the People's Action Movement. And certainly about that, they've been very silent.
Peter, let me ask you this. Don't you think that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis recognizing a trend? Because we recognize that Dr. Harris was with the Labour Party, with Dr. Douglas, and then there was a division between there where he broke away. He formed the PLP. The original members that formed the PLP with him, Sam Conda and others, broke away from Timothy Harris. Timothy Harris, under the Unity umbrella, had the PLP with the CCM and the People's Action Movement. We realized that in 2022, the People's Action Movement and CCM broke away from PLP. We recognize today, in 2023, that 4 key members of its party has broken away. 4 key members of the PLP party have broken away from Timothy Harris. Don't you think that persons are therefore coming up with the perception that maybe the problem might be Dr. Harris?
I mean, if that's the case, then certainly Dr. Harris will not succeed in the next election. But as I keep saying, that's something that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis have to decide. You know, there's a flip side to that. Coming up to this point, Dr. Harris was easily the most successful minister within the Labour Party administration. He has a singular reputation regarding regionally of being one of the few people who has been able to essentially cross the floor and win a government on the other side, having lost the government, lost the falling out with the Labour Party. There are not very many instances across the region in which that has happened successfully. He led a coalition into an election in which he came up with his seat, and they were able nonetheless to command the post of prime minister. When a person has been successfully selected as prime minister not once but twice, when a person has served with distinction as a minister in opposition, crossed and been able to lead the team that he formerly opposed to victory on the other side, it's difficult to say that that individual is an individual that has serious challenges. Because one can look at the other side and ask oneself, then what is the merit, what is the distinction of a person like Sean Richards? You know, he's been a minister of government once, a deputy prime minister, and he's fallen out of favor with the electorate in terms of the national conversation, and has made, in my opinion, what was a very foolish decision. And now you have a situation where the coalition between PAM and the CCM appears not to have been a coalition at all, because PAM and the CCM goes into government, goes into opposition, and the People's Action Movement is not leading the opposition. What you have is the CCM from Nevis leading the opposition, and the PAM doesn't even get a senatorship. So I don't know, is this still a coalition between PAM and the CCM? And the last time that PAM was in coalition, you know, with the PAM was in coalition with the NRP, I believe it was, that also presented some challenges. So the idea of saying coalitions break apart, I understand it. It's something that happens. And as I said, if it is that Timothy Harris is that toxic, he will have severe difficulty getting people to associate with him,
but
forming a government on the next occasion. But that's something that we've seen in 5
okay,
years.
Peter, to your point, okay, it's 8:16 callers. We will be taking your calls for Peter Wickham. My question is, as a pollster, I'm curious as to your opinion as to, let's call it, the potential voter psychology and perception that happens when you have a rash. You have a rash of resignations from a party within the space of 4 or 5 days. I'm curious as to how do you think people will be looking at the PLP, and if it's if the result is deleterious, will it last? Is it something that will persist?
But that question is an unusual question, because as a pollster, if I'm going in, I'm trying to understand now, who is it that people prefer? Right? You have a solid government now under Dr. Drew. I think that if people were to vote tomorrow, he would be returned resoundingly, and he would be returned for several reasons, one of which is the fact that the PLP appears unsettled and unsuited at this point in time to form an alternative government. that the PAM is unsuited form an alternative implement. The CCM and the NRP are not in a position so to do. So as a result, Labour wins. The idea of making not Dr. Drew, but Dr. Harris the issue, I find is an amusing one because people are clearly not going to be voting for Dr. Harris at this point in time. So if you want the pollster's opinion, that answers the question. And I think if an election were called now, people are going to be voting for Dr. Drew for several reasons. And among those reasons is the fact that there's clearly a level of disquiet within PLP. That's something that they have to address. There's also disquiet elsewhere within the PAM that they have not started to address yet, and I presume in due course will want to address.
But Peter, isn't it also safe to say that both of the times when Dr. Harris was in power, it was not by himself, that there was that coalition, it was Team Unity, and so how strong is it now that, yes, PAM is on its own, PLP is on its own, PAM is struggling, PLP has had a rash of resignations in the last week, maybe less than a week. So how safe is it to say that, Dr. Harris is still a strong contender?
We go back to this conversation about Dr. Harris again, and this is a fascinating conversation because we're hearing this thing, we're going and we're hammering Dr. Harris going on.
I'm actually quoting you because you did say that you think he was.
When was PAM in office on its own? When did PAM control the leadership in the way that Dr. Douglas did for so many years? When last was PAM in government on its own? It was part of a coalition.
PAM was in.
Right, that's exactly what I'm asking. The only time that they were both in government is when they were together. But you've made a point of saying that yes, Sean Richards' government is falling apart, and the pollsters are going to be questioning whether or not he's suitable, and he made a foolish decision. But you also made a point of saying that Dr. Harris is a strong politician because he still commanded a bunch of votes from his constituency. And he, was able to get into government twice.
I think that we're mixing up issues. I don't know whether it's accidental or deliberate. We're mixing up issues.
It's definitely not deliberate.
Let me be clear. At this point in time, I think if the voters were to make a decision, they would select Labour because neither of the options appear suitable. And what I have found is that the panel seems anxious to focus on the unsuitability of Dr. Harris. And I am saying that we accept that there are several reasons why they would vote Labour. One is because Dr. Harris's party is unsuitable. The other reason is that PAM is unsuitable. And I'm saying that I'm comfortable saying that both of them have some work to do to demonstrate their level of suitability.
And when you said suitability, Peter, because you're using this word suitability, saying that PAM or PLP are not suitable. When you say suitability, clearly define what you mean by suitability, because we have a situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Okay, because we have a situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis that many persons are saying that the Labour Party might be a one-term government, where we have a number of the manifesto promises not delivered. We have a lot of persons who might have voted in the 2022 election, but are not feeling the same here today. So I understand your point that you're saying that the People's Action Movement and the PLP would have to be ready and electable, but at this. And so I think that what you're saying is that by default, not by performance, that the Labour Party would be back into office if elections were today.
That's a brilliant analysis. What a lot of people don't understand, and we're having the same conversation in Barbados now, and the presumption is that Prime Minister Motley is making several unforced errors, and there's certain challenges that have been expressed in relation to her governance. She hasn't had resignations, although one or two people did leave the party. And the presumption is that gives the opposition the opportunity to take back over. And I would assure you, and I think that you should assure yourself, that it doesn't work that way in Caribbean politics. Petitions and divisions are not foolish, and they're not going to say, any and everybody can just come and we're going to give them the government because we're so unhappy with Labour. There will come a time that people will be so anxious to get rid of Labour that they will vote in anyone. I've seen it in several other Caribbean islands where people just said, look, we're going to just shut our eyes and vote because we're so unhappy. That time has not come. So you can rest assured that for the time being, and I think for several years to come, people will vote Labour simply by default, simply because there is no alternative. And it is for that reason.
You're on the assumption that
both of the opposition parties have to do some work to demonstrate that they are a viable alternative And until that time, neither of them will get elected.
Well, say that. Say
And
that.
that's- and
Don't
I'm
say
comfortable with
that they will not.
Honestly, I do agree with that. They both need to do a lot of work, because when you look at not only their performance, but what has been happening in each party of itself, they are imploding. And so I can definitely
I can say within PAM that it's imploding,
No,
because we don't have the same situation in the People's Action
maybe you
Movement.
feel imploding is a strong word, but if you look at what's been happening
You have other issues in
with
PAM.
exactly, if
I'm
you look
saying
at
that
what's been
regardless
happening,
of what the issues are, whether the issues are caused by a personality, as you're saying, in terms of the PLP, or the issues are caused by the personality failing to deliver in relation to PAM, the fact is that both opposition parties have challenges and have issues.
and that is exactly
I
my
don't know
point.
that. Right, I don't know that one is worse than the other, and I think that the impression that's being conveyed here is that the problems in Labour and PAM, sorry, the problems in PLP are so significant that they should implode and allow PAM to take over. And I'm saying that they're persons who are the alternative.
But the
and
other
I think
thing
the
is-
fact of the matter is that both of them have to fix their stories, or alternatively, Dr. Drew will be Prime Minister for a very long time.
No, but on the face of it, Peter, yes, they both have issues, but we haven't seen any resignations from Pam, and I think that's what I think that's what everybody's looking at, because we've seen the
No,
several
I
resignations,
understand.
so it's
I
making
understand.
persons go like, huh, what's happening?
And at sometimes silence doesn't mean that that party isn't doing anything. Perhaps that party is revitalizing. Perhaps that party is allowing persons to see how it is to govern without the presence of those persons, to see whether or not the people of St. Kitts and Nevis did make the correct choice. But it doesn't say that that party is sitting down and doing
I
nothing.
think we have two pollsters on the line.
I still wanna come back to the perception thing again, and the input of the perception of what happened. Here you had 3 people resigning, presenting the letters to Warrington, what's his name?
Warren Thompson,
the
the
chairman. And then the chairman himself resigns. So to me, I don't know what that says. I want you to tell me, so I'm trying again.
Some says that you want Peter to read their minds. Give it a go, Peter.
No, but I mean, it looks bad. But I mean, how can it not look bad? It looks bad that you have these issues.
I think
It
that's
definitely
exactly
looks
what
bad.
James wanted you to
Right,
say,
but
that
the
to
point-
admit the fact that it
point
looks
that
bad.
The point that I'm making is that for me to say it looks bad is essentially restating the obvious, right? Because one could say that there are several things that look bad currently in relation to opposition politics in the case of St. Kitts and Nevis, and that's one of them. So if that's the question that you're asking, if you believe that by having a positive answer to that question, it means that it's all gone and it's all well and done, and that because I've said it looks bad, that Dr. Harris will say, well, I'm finished, I'm going to pack it in, and I'm going to give all of my support to the PAM. That unfortunately is very, very short-sighted, and it's not the kind of analysis I would be associated with.
And
Well,
to your
of
point,
course,
And
and
you
to
would
your
be
point,
right.
This is a view that I held before, before all of this nonsense started. Is the view that I held during the election, the view that I hold now. The best thing for St. Kitts and Nevis is a unified opposition force that involves everyone who is not associated with the Labour Party. I think Team Unity did well in terms of capturing a lot of support that was strained about the place, and I felt that that was the unit, the vehicle that made more sense. When that unit was broken apart, I thought the reasons for it being broken apart were clearly beyond my understanding. I thought that there were short-sighted reasons, and I think that the persons who broke it up made a mistake in having done so. And I think that we're now seeing the fact that a year later, ultimately you're all worse off. So
But you can
that to
see.
me is a very simple analysis. Now, what do you do from here to get back? Now, my sense is that there has to be some level of unity in the opposition. I don't see that happening currently. And I'm saying that to me, more than anything else, is a bigger problem. So if you feel that the problem is that you're having resignations or people have issues with Dr. Harris, then fine. I personally think that if you carry that analysis, you will get so far and no further.
But to your point, I do agree with you that he's not going to pack up shop and leave. And we've seen a letter
not.
going out announcing that there's going to be a convention on the 27th, I actually heard a speech where Dr. Harris said, they have a 7-member executive, they're planning the convention, and obviously they're going to be speaking about what candidates are going to be going forward.
So should we read anything
there's no
into,
pack up and shop and leave.
Should we read anything into these resignations happening so close to the
because
convention?
let's look at the fact in 2022 the People's Action Movement in Sean Richards, the leader, he said that he moved away from Timothy Harris based on the principles and value. He said that he made a principle stance, and the MPs for the People's Action Movement clearly said that they made a principle stance to move away from Timothy Harris and the PLP. And here we see members within the same PLP using the same words. They're making a principle stance based on principles and values. So I think that is what Jamster is showing.
I know, but one of the principles and values that Akila has issues with now that she didn't have issues with a year ago. I'm keen on hearing and unpacking her analysis, because she's the one to me that is most significant, because she actually held the seat, but she lost. And she held a seat that was fairly significant. So what are these values that have changed? What has changed? The only thing that's changed between then and now is the fact that they're not in power anymore. And for a lot of people, that makes a huge difference, because when you're not in power, you're less relevant. There's nothing that you can give. There's no largesse. There's no benefits that you can give to person. And I think that that's a big part of the challenge that opposition politicians face. The only spoils that the opposition gets is a senator. Nothing beyond that. So what are these values that have been so fundamentally different in terms of Akila? And I'm struggling to hear what these are, that are so similar to the values that Sean Richards moved away from. Sean Richards said he wanted to move away from Tim Harris because Tim Harris wanted a third term, and that he didn't want to give Nevis a fair share. And he was uncomfortable with the idea that they should reorganize the cabinet in the way that Sean Richards was supposed to organize it. He also then said he's not going to cabinet because his name was appearing in some police report. Those are the reasons that I heard. I don't know if you heard something different to me. I ain't seen no principles and values in that. What I'm seeing is the fact that certain things that you wanted were taken away. And I think that that's the same kind of analysis that you will find with a lot of those people that have moved away from the PLP. PLP has nothing to give anybody now. And they will struggle basically with that, because all
we have a caller, Peter. We have a caller.
Yeah.
We have a caller. Caller, you live?
Hello.
Oh, we lost a caller. We have another caller? Okay, not a moment. So, Peter, continue. So, you're saying that you're looking to see what the principal stance is that everyone is taking.
Yeah. Yeah, which is something that maybe you can tell me.
Good point.
What are the principles that Sean Richards stood on that Akila is standing on now? What's the similarity between these principles?
We have a caller, Peter. We have a caller.
Caller, go ahead. And be brief.
Good morning, Jamster.
Go ahead, be brief.
And everyone.
Yes.
My question is this. If those 4 people who resign from the PLP, if what they are saying, they are genuine with what they are saying, why didn't they resign before they had, an executive election? And from the results of the executive election, all of those, except 2, they lose the vote. And because they realized that they did not elected, that is when they come out and say they resign because of what they're saying. Why they didn't do it before? If they had win the election, they would not have resigned because of what they're accusing Dr. Harris of moving away from principles. So that's my take on that. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for your contribution.
No, sir, you summarized it well, and I can answer that question for you. All of these people have had a collective epiphany over the weekend. You guys are biblical people, and you know how it works. You meet Jesus Christ on the road to Damascus, and you have a conversation with him, and he says, you should not follow him. You should go other ways. And that's exactly what happened to all 4 of them in sequence over the weekend, that they had an epiphany, and they decided to leave. The hard reality is that when a person is in government, there are so many reasons why you would want to associate with them, right?
The same reason why I made the point why PLP would have been so
goes into
successful in the election.
The only thing that they can offer you is love.
But the thing is, the letter that a communication from PLP said that the executive was going to be replaced anyways.
Except for
Well,
the
there you
leader
go.
and the deputy leader, those positions remain
Right,
untouched.
right. So they were going to be replaced anyway. So basically, is it saying that the resignations were basically null and void because they were going to be replaced on Monday anyways?
I guess
Okay.
they resigned from the party itself as well. Anyway, Peter, it was a very interesting discussion. I think that
I'm disappointed it's ended. I was looking forward to chatting some more.
Well, we could always
I'm
do it
learning a
again.
lot.
We can
We'll
do it again
definitely bring you back.
maybe tomorrow
No,
even.
I really do wish you guys well. And I just want to reiterate that this conversation is going to continue until there's unity in the opposition. I saw it in Trinidad and Tobago, with this UNC thing that went on and on ad nauseum. and you've seen it in several other Caribbean islands. In Guyana now, it will play out. Once you have opposition, disunity, people will continue to vote for government. So Dr. Drew can
point.
relax and polish his shoes when the days come. Because fact is he's going to be prime minister for a long time.
you're
'Cause-
making the
because of the fact
assumption that
we
there
continue to
would
have these
be
conversations.
no strong opposition. You're making the assumption
Okay,
there would be
clearly-
no strong opposition during the next 4
Clearly,
years.
okay. Clearly, we need to
But
we need to have a chapter 2.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you
Yes.
so much for
Thanks, Peter.
coming in today, Peter.
All
Thank you,
right,
Peter.
Thanks so
Great.
much. Good to join you. All right,
Okay.
take care.
Okay, folks, it's 8:33. We've got Point on the Street with Vernon Springer from Point FM in Antigua next, right after this word.
Found the sound 99.9 FM. Black Sands Music Festival presents Knockshore Night, featuring international dancehall sensation Candisie. And Def Jam recording artist Massacre. Live Saturday, April 8th at Sandy Point, St. Kitts. Get your tickets online now with Jad Cash or contact 869-664-4179 for info. Black Sands Music Festival returns with Shansia
No girl can't see me and cause problem. Them a man clowns for me walk on
and
them.
Massacre. Plus live bands and local DJs. Knockshore Night, Easter Saturday, April 8th, a Palm Nations tour event.
Well, it's time for Point on the Street with Vernon Springer at Point FM in Antigua. Vernon, what's up? Hey, Vernon, what's up? Go right ahead. Good morning to you. It's at 8:34. We are on the link up with Vernon Springer, Point on the Streets at Point FM in Antigua. I guess he'll be coming to us as soon as he's ready. You guys can chat in the meantime, I guess.
Is the ads in the background for me?
Yeah.
You hear the ads? We had such an interesting discussion with Peter Wickham. I mean, he has his points.
We
I
definitely
mean,
needed an hour.
We probably did.
Yeah.
And because, when
We
it
can
comes
do it another day. He
Yeah.
seemed like he was into it.
Yeah, when it comes to the political talk here in St. Kitts and Nevis, it never gets old. Because I
Definitely not old right now.
He's ready.
Yes.
Vernon, what's up?
Good morning, Jamster. How
Okay.
you doing?
I'm good. I hope so. You were listening, Peter and the guys?
I think we have greater issues than listening Candisie, Azard, and Peter talking about. We got a lot of bigger issues than you guys were talking about this morning. But interesting
Good
conversation
morning,
because
Vernon.
Peter is a political activist, so he wants to continue that conversation. And bearing in mind that Azard is a potential candidate, actually he wants to take on Azard in his discussion.
Full disclosure. Love it.
Good morning, Vernon.
Good
How are
morning,
you?
Vernon. Yes.
Good morning. I think I can go reverse psychology. Can that Azard Virtual High School did not place in the top 10. Need to start that way, Candice.
I agree.
But I must say that the Virtual High School performed very well. They were in the third position. They were in the third position for some time.
Azard. You
Sir.
gotta do the performing now.
Sir, we're talking about the final results. You were
Yeah.
not in it. Neither Washi nor Virtual. So, yeah.
I don't know where these BHS stormers came in.
We stormed the place.
But again, we
But
saw.
but remember last Thursday I predicted. We knew that Charles Email Secondary School was going to win. We said Charleston. I said Charleston Secondary and then I said Barstow High School.
You really did.
Yeah, I remember I said
stand
with
by
my
prediction.
unbiased prediction, my unbiased prediction, I said that it was going to be between Sandy Point and Charlestown. So, I mean, that came out.
Trying to remember when you said that.
I said it. I could bring back the clip,
Okay, so Vernon, what's going on on your
You guys
end?
have had an interesting week.
What's going on? Yeah, what's going on your end?
And I showed the talking point. I'm sure you guys would have known about the tragedy.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Which involves both countries.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It involved both countries. I mean, they left Antigua.
Barbuda and St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yeah.
I can say to you that there was a 9-hour session of cabinet on Wednesday, and the major discussion was the issue of the West Africans, and in terms of what happened, the cabinet invited the Commissioner of Police, Chief of Defense Staff, also the Director of the Organization of National Drug Control Policy and Money Laundering, Chief of Immigration. They will submit, cabinet invited them for a very, very, very long discussion in terms of what's going to be happening. So there's going to be a press conference this morning, which would involve the Honorable Melford Nicholas at the cabinet press briefing. And I know that communications are taking place between both prime ministers, the Honorable Gaston Brown and the Honorable Terence Drew. So a lot of discussions are taking place. But like I said, folks, there's been a video that has been banding around from one of the survivors.
Right,
It's not clear yet. Because if you collaborate the times and you collaborate with what the police is saying, sometimes frights make you say certain things. So if he's really one of the survivors, that's pretty tough, really. And to be in the middle of the ocean, I'm only just trying to see if I can kind of figure out these guys getting an opportunity, or somebody saying, listen, boy, we can get to St. Thomas. It's a risk, but that you take, and I feel sorry for them because they're not the only person around the world who are trying to get somewhere for a better living.
Right.
Our condolences go to their families.
A lot of our callers actually did say that when we announced what had happened, they said it's just basically people moving for a better way of life. And I want to assume that's the whole reason they came to Antigua to begin with, because I think when they came to Antigua, there was a big uproar when they came on the flight from Lagos, I think it was, Lagos. And everybody was like, why are they here? What's their purpose? It was supposed to be vacation, and it seems as though they came to live. And some of them actually did mention that they were on their way to America. The whole point of them leaving and coming to Antigua was for them to get to the U.S. So St. Thomas being a U.S. island, I guess that was their rationale.
Most of them also was supposed to be en route to Aruba, which would have channeled them, as you rightly said, into the U.S. So it's a situation where it's a talking point for a long time. So, we were talking about the Haitians, and now we're talking about this aspect of the West Africa.
What is the sentiment in Antigua, Vernon, on the street?
Yeah, how are they feeling?
Well, I can say to you that it has been a talking point from the opposition. The opposition have been clamoring, call for a number of answers and issues. But a lot of people in Antigua and Barbuda have really sort of taken to them. I know of churches who have taken in some folks, and but you could tell that some of them. In fact, I said this to you because I ended up finding out something. I think last week, there was supposed to be a flight that they were supposed to be leaving to go to Aruba, and then for some particular reason, I don't think that the flight came off. But most of them are making an effort. They really, once everything goes out, they really want to move on to the next era.
So Vernon, is it a situation that when they came on the flight, I think it was Antigua Airways, that's what it's called?
Yes, Antigua Airways, yes.
They came on a one-way ticket? Most of them?
I think the connection would have been going from point A to point B.
Okay.
As Candisie said, most of them would have expected to be going on to Uber, to other different areas. I think that fell through based on whatever particular reason. I don't have all of the details, my brother Azard. I think that is, like I said, it's an unfortunate situation. And it's something that will unravel over the next couple of weeks because I don't have all the answers for you.
Vernon, that seems like a very poorly thought out move. I mean, it's a great idea to establish an air link between the motherland and Antigua Barbuda, but then you start this air link and then you suspend it because clearly a lot of thought wasn't given to maybe delinquent travelers.
I think you could also boil it down to investors because things happen in the airline industry. You understand where I come from, Jamster? So, like I said, I don't want to lay any blame on any particular person, Jamster. I just want to feel that it's something that we have to deal with, and we'll see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks in terms of what's happening.
Refresh my memory.
But just one more thing, Jamster and Azard.
Yes.
Candice. I saw something which I know Candice would be pretty much interested in this. And I wanted to raise this discussion this morning for us to carry the debate or the conversation to a next level. And it was something I saw coming out from the World Bank. And the World Bank, there was a piece saying that the world is facing a crisis of development. Those are the words of a paper from officials of the World Bank, setting out a proposed roadmap for the urgent action to tackle the growing crisis of poverty and economic distress and global challenges, including climate change, pandemic risks, and risk, fragility, and conflict. Now, the reason why I went down this way, Candice, is that I wanted to touch on something, right, concerning small island states, which includes the coming out of the paper, the increased interest rates will, and the paper was talking about some of the Caribbean small states, which are high-end countries, which are including Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Trinidad and Tobago. And it went further on to say, despite the protests and rigorous arguments of these countries, that high income is not by itself detriment of underdevelopment, and that they share similar, no exact circumstances of other smaller states, and policy makers at the bank are looking at what is happening. So we have a situation here, Candice and Azard and Jamster. St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, you know we have a CIU program.
Right.
Yeah.
You know that is something which almost outside of tourism is what we live off of. But we are dubbed as high-end countries. And so when we go for loans, or we try to get a loan, what do you think is been happening? Our population, St. Kitts and Nevis is just 50,000, Antigua and Barbuda is just under 100,000. But because of the economic value that is being brought in from the CIU program, the small island states are being targeted.
Yeah. I mean, definitely there needs to be some sort of change in how you evaluate these grants and access to loans. Definitely, because there's an outlier.
What is the criteria? What are they using? What's the yardstick they're using to jump to the conclusion? I mean, other than CBI and them counting our pennies and looking at our pockets, what is the criteria that they're using to place us in this category?
If I'm correct, I think they look at the gross domestic product, and you understand that these persons who are citizens, because even if you're getting citizenship, and of course their monies are being counted as well into the whole grand scheme of things.
This goes back to the whole FATCA issue. Isn't that how FATCA came out, when the U.S. assumed that this amount of taxes was leaching out from their shores because they had so many persons investing in citizenship programs or having accounts offshore? Isn't that what caused the whole FATCA creation and you know, what's the word, implementation and forcing almost? We had no choice but to subscribe to FATCA or face other sanctions.
Renan, you were saying something?
But Candice and Azard, you know, gone are the days, right, where big states like Canada, United Kingdom, and the USA almost used to invest in small Caribbean states. In fact, if we look at the Irish Tongue School in St. Kitts and Nevis, I'm just using that as an example, Canada built that school. But you realize that things have changed. They've moved away from a whole lot of areas and decided that they're not going to help the Caribbean countries. And I like what Candice said this morning. They're counting our pennies. So they know of investors who are coming here to conduct business and get themselves organized. The United States of America and Canada, they also have a CIP program, a CIU program. Citizens, but we can't count their pennies. So why would they want to conk some pennies? If somebody decides that they want to leave from America and come to Antigua or St. Kitts and Nevis and live, why would you want to put a penalty on the country to determine that, hey, well, because that billionaire lives in Antigua and Barbuda, you know, a high-end country? Because that is what is happening.
That's exactly what it is.
But
And
that's
it's not going to stop.
But
anytime
unless you
soon.
change the way in which the evaluation is done, it's going to be the same result, and that has been the evaluation even before. I think the CBI became an issue.
But that brings me back to my question: is the CBI the only measuring stick, the yardstick that they're using? What makes them determine that we are high-end countries?
And again, I say,
it
I
can't
think
just be GDP.
and then
It's more than that. It has to be more
I
than
think
that.
the main is the GDP, the gross domestic product of the country, because when you look at the ranking, a lot of the high-end countries are based on their GDP.
But Azad, if we are judging that on the GDP, let's talk and let's get real serious here. You know what's disheartening? The rich nations, right, are not honoring their commitments to fund resistance. Let's look at climate change. We're at COP27, right? All of these countries get together, the Caribbean go in one unity, one voice. And we're saying, we have situation. I listened to Candisie last week talking about the sargassum, which is affecting Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis. So we have another man-made reality situation which is plaguing us in the Caribbean here, right? The big countries, or as we would say, they are supposed to pay XYZ into a fund to be able to help us with this sargassum, with climate change, with XYZ. They're not paying the money into the fund. So how are we going to survive? How are we going to look after our own people? The governments now have to find money to look after those sargassums to be able to keep tourists happy. That when they come to Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, that they can be able to use the beaches.
Speaking of
Antigua,
which,
365 beaches. But maybe some of the tourists can maybe go on the beach because of the challenge.
But,
Let me say this.
Vernon,
Before
wait.
you go in, Jamster, a high-income economy is defined by the World Bank as a nation with a gross national income per capita of US $13,589 or more in 2022, calculated using the Atlas method. While the term high income is often interchangeable with first world and developed country, the technical definitions of these terms differ.
Vernon, I don't know if you know that Antigua, I saw a story, I think it was last week. Antigua is actually exporting sargassum to, is it Finland? Someplace
Yes,
where they,
Finland.
Finland, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Finland.
Where they're
Yeah.
processing it, which I thought was an interesting idea, because apparently it has cosmetological and other uses.
But I want to come back to what Azard just talked
Me
about,
too.
the criteria, what he
Yes.
labeled out there by the World Bank. You know what is, Candice, what is also going to be a worsening situation coming out of this paper? The situation is that the populations of low-income countries are expected to rise by 25% by 2050.
You know,
The World Bank, Candice, and
I'm
Azard,
glad you said
although they're coming up with all of these parameters, they're not doing anything to help small island states. What they want to do is kill the Caribbean. That's what the mission is.
You know, thank you for saying that, Vernon, because based on what Azard just said, I feel like that definition in and of itself is a contradiction, because they're saying that it's developed countries, it's their GDP, but we're still not labeled as developed countries. We are being labeled as small island states and developing countries. So for them to even put us in that bracket and now label us as high end, but we're still developing, I feel like that in and of itself is a contradiction. And if you remember what Prime Minister Mia Mottley said in relation to COP, and the fact that they have these commitments, nobody's adhering to the commitments, but then we're all suffering, and then we're all expected to still function, rebound, and still make a contribution and sign off to cutting back our carbon contribution to the atmosphere when we are still small and developing. It's the bigger countries that are causing it, and nobody's committing to cutting it back.
But I'm going to say this to you, Candice, and again, coming out of the paper again. So we understand what is happening, right? So let's look at this now. In its own roadmap, the bank discloses that its 2018 capital package, right, was designed to be prepared for one mid-sized crisis a decade and not a multiple overlapping crises.
Wow.
This is coming out of COVID, right? It goes on to say that the bank support is set to decline starting in the financial year of 2024. So in real term, bank support today is below the levels of the 1980s. We've just come out of a pandemic. The worst, none of us have never lived in a pandemic. We've been here. This is the World Bank, right? Who we expected to go to, again, the same small island states, the CARICOM countries, to be able to get finance to look after certain situations. And they're saying, well, we are not going to be in a position to be able to help you.
Right.
So how are we supposed to survive?
Based on their GDP, since we're high end, I guess we're supposed to do it on our own. Because if they're only, as the World Bank, they're only prepared for one crisis. What is that telling us? We on our own.
I just decided that I
concept.
wanted to switch the discussion this morning and to kind of educate the nation of Antigua and Barbuda and St. Kitts and Nevis that outside of the pandemic, right, a lot of things are looming around us. And we have bigger issues which we have to deal with because also what's so frightening, Candice, right? And I don't think a lot of people really paying attention as to what could happen, right? You could very well find, as we are seeing around the world right now, where there's dissatisfaction among populations leading to increased wages and protests and demonstrations in some countries. The demands on governments are going to get demanding. And you know what's happening when people are not working, coming out of COVID. That war, the Russian war on Ukraine, is designed enough to be able to make sure that you bring the world into a crisis in terms of what is happening. So we down here, we have high cost of living in a number of areas. It's not being caused by the governments. And sometimes I want to say that sometimes the opposition people also have to understand that governments are trying, but at the same time, because of what is happening with the war, more and more increases you're going to see taking place in some of these small island states down here. So the road ahead is not as easy as how we think it is.
Definitely, economically speaking, we're in for a lot. Need to strap in. but to that point as well, the banks have also signaled it. I feel as if, just because we're not probably focusing on the economic aspect of it, we're not realizing what is actually happening. The banks in and of themselves, they're also imploding. And look at what's happening with the banks in the U.S. That may or may not be a cause of a side effect of the war. I know it's also a side effect of people moving to cryptocurrency, but the banks are also struggling. Look at Credit Suisse. Look at the Swiss government basically had to bail them out. Look at the Silicon Valley Bank. And the banks, the U.S. government don't want to use the B word, bailout, but that's basically what's been happening. So even if we follow that path, we can see exactly where this is heading. Apart from climate crisis, there's also economic crisis happening. And I feel like these are all spill-offs from the war that Vernon just alluded to.
I think one of the things that we have to be mindful of going forward, we had the NRP leader on a few weeks ago, and I asked her a question about what she intended to do to diversify the economy of Nevis, and she actually seemed to be putting her eggs in the handout, the climate change handout basket, and saying, well, the money we get for climate change build outs, she's going to be using that, which to me is problematic because one, you shouldn't be putting your eggs in that one basket, and two, chances are a lot of this funding is going to be conditional, meaning they're going to tell us things like, oh, you're going to have to do certain, they'll suggest, quote unquote, that we have to do certain things vis-a-vis, say, gay rights or maybe other things.
I don't think there
will
be
offshore banks,
climate change.
Or say offshore banks, because like to Vernon's point, to Vernon's point earlier, there seems to be a campaign to contain us economically, and one of the ways that our economies are doing as well as they are, maybe peripherally, are the offshore banks. And they have a big problem with that. So I imagine, don't be surprised if some of the conditionalities that might come about because of whatever handouts they're going to give us for climate change might be things like, you're going to have to modify the way you do your offshore banking, your CBI program,
one of the things,
human rights.
Remember, I just mentioned it. When Mia went to the UN, she spoke about the whole, not UN, the COP. She spoke about what it was. They want us to cut back our carbon
I think if
carbon emissions. So that is in of itself a part of climate change.
I think if an organization is centered on climate change, the issues are going to be, the conditions, if any, are going to be in relation to cutting down on carbon emission.
I agree, but they'll find a way to sneak in other things.
And in relation to CBI, I remember seeing an article, and I actually commented on it, and the article blew up, and they referred to my comment because, to Vernon's point earlier, the US and Canada, most countries, they have citizenship programs, but they feel threatened by the ones that smaller countries like St. Kitts and Antigua and Grenada and those countries have.
Precisely my point.
So they continuously place sanctions on us. For instance, that whole FinCEN advisory, FACTA, all of those things, FATCA, those, and then CSR, the Common Reporting Standard, CRS, all of those are things to kind of keep us in check because they feel that as a small developing country, when it suits them, the term applies, those small developing countries shouldn't be making as much money as we are because we're the big developed country.
I mean that could be a point as well, and I'm not disputing that, but you don't think that these countries are too concerned about their national security? Because when they do get access to our visa, our passport, they do have access to the US and the like. So you don't think that a concern might be perhaps their own national security? Not saying that those points that you made,
of course, but that was included in what I said when I said some of the conditionalities that it might put based on our CBI programs, because obviously that would be a concern.
I'm Candisie and Jamster, and just to let you know that the Cricket West Indies Under 15 Championship will start in Antigua and Barbuda on Tuesday, right here, involving all of the cricketing nations. Right now, as I speak, the Leeward Islands and the Windward Islands are camping in Antigua and Barbuda. We had a practice yesterday. We'll have another game tomorrow. And so Scotland, the national team, will also be arriving on Saturday and will be in Antigua and Barbuda for a month.
I did see that.
Getting themselves prepared for the cool and smooth tournament. Leeward Islands also will be playing a couple of games against Scotland. So it's a busy period of time for sports. And we want to wish all the athletes who are heading out to the Carifta Games 50th in Bahamas. And Jamster, I can tell you, right? Some youngster in the 100 meters in the Bahamas is going to run under 10 seconds. That's all I'm going to say to you.
Okay. That sounds good.
Thank you for that, Vernon. Before you leave us, I had a question in relation to the Africans that suffered that tragedy. Do they still have family members left in Antigua, or was it just that 32 came and 32 left?
No, well, the problem is that I don't even know the connection. So all those information we'll find out today from the press conference.
Awesome. So we look forward to hearing from you
and
next week.
Yes. Our PM is having a press conference as well at 10 a.m. And the Premier had one, what was it, 2 days ago?
All right. That's again for linking up with you guys. GZL Crossroads Line. Let me say good morning to the nation of St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda as we get ready here also for the cabinet press briefing in Antigua and Barbuda. Talk to you guys next week.
Thank you, Vernon. Look forward to it.
Look forward to it. Have a good one, Vernon. See you next week.
Okay, folks, it's on 9:01. We've got the newly appointed Ombudsman coming up next. We're going to get some words. We're going to set up and have him seated. Cyprian Williams, our newly appointed Ombudsman, he is on deck next in the hot seat.
INN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Do you want to improve the quality of your water? Is buying bottled water costing you a fortune? Say no to bottled water and yes to Tap Water Caribbean and Espo Water Solutions. We offer eco-friendly filtration products such as our Ultra Filter or our Bottle Pro for at home or on the go. Fill up anywhere. We also have a shower pro designed to protect and give you healthy skin. Visit us today at tapwatercaribbean.com or on Facebook and Instagram. Let's drink clean, pure, healthy water together. Remember, go green, save money, and save our planet.
Strapped for cash? Get Instacash. Payday late? Get Instacash. Have items new or used you don't need? Get cash for them at Instacash. We buy and sell quality new and used tools, electronics, jewelry, household items, and more. If you're strapped for cash, think Instacash. Sell an item for cash or buy an item. Ask about the convenient Instacash layaway plans and buyback options. Instacash is same-day cash, no credit checks, and guaranteed privacy. Get cash for your goods. Visit Instacash across from Caribbean Lotto in the Hospital Complex or call 465-0222 and 669-8390.
Black Sands Music Festival presents Knockshore Night, featuring international dancehall sensation Candisie and Def Jam recording artist Massacre. Live Saturday, April 8th at Sandy Point, St. Kitts. Get your tickets online now with Jadcash or contact 869-664-4179 for info. Black Sands Music Festival returns with Shensia.
Now girl can't see me and cause problem. Them a man clown for me walk
and Massacre.
Start it and them a run help you walk.
Plus live bands and local DJs. Knockshore Night, Easter Saturday, April 8th, a Palm Nations tour event.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
It's 4 minutes after 9 o'clock, Island Tea time. And we've got the newly appointed Ombudsman, Cyprian Williams, on deck. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, we have the newly appointing, still in the acting position of,
yes,
making
acting.
sure that, yes. So he is the acting ombudsman for St. Kitts and Nevis. And what is significant is the fact that for some time we've had that office vacant. Yeah. In fact, some of my students are doing their IA on the role of the ombudsman, whether or not, how could it become more effective. And so I think it comes in at a good time. Yeah, where we do have now the ombudsman.
I love it. Good morning
Good
and
morning,
welcome.
Good morning.
I'm glad you said that, Azard, because I remember studying about this in school.
Yes.
And so I was always concerned because the office seemed to have been closed for quite a long time.
Quite some time.
So I'm actually very happy to see that this arm of our democracy is back up and running. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your position for those of our audience that are now listening and probably don't really know.
Okay. Good morning to all of your listeners on the Island Tea. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank you for having me here. My name is Cyprian Wendell Williams. I am the senior pastor of the New Birth Gospel Tabernacle, and also have responsibilities for Ignite Church in Nevis. Yes, I've been pastoring now for over 25 years. Yes, I started as a baby. It's just joking, yes. So we, actually, I just a few days ago celebrated my 50th birthday. So
no way.
Yes.
Happy belated birthday.
So I give God thanks and praise for that, for keeping me alive. So the experiences that I've had in terms of leadership, have served on several committees, church bodies, organizations. I've been regional director for many, many years with responsibility for churches throughout the Caribbean region. This responsibility means that you have to give an account, you have to check up on these churches who are under the same banner, and I can give you the World Harvest Ministerial Fellowship and the Full Gospel Baptist Church. Those are the two organizations that I've had the privilege to serve as regional director. My bishop who is over me for the region, one is located in the States and the other one is located in the Bahamas. And so with responsibility, it's heavy. It means that we have to make sure that the code of ethics for pastors and ministry and all of these things are maintained, because we are serving people. Even though we are worshiping God, the church is called to serve people. Okay, good.
So we have
Sounds as though you're perfectly suited for this role.
So we know the office of the Ombudsman is one that, listens to the concerns of citizens and it looks at the malpractices of public bodies. So having placed in that position, how excited are you? Because it's a very important position, and it is one that would keep public bodies on their toes.
In terms of excitement, I think I would have been more excited if I was coming in a continual role. At this time, I am called to resurrect, re-establish something that has been closed for 6 years.
Yes.
And so right now, many persons don't even know what is the Ombudsman.
That's exactly where we brought you here today, because I feel like people see the office, they don't quite understand what your role is, why it's there, and what to expect from you. But I think you're at an advantage, it having been dormant, to say, you're saying resurrect and reinstate. It gives you the perfect opportunity to not only reintroduce persons to it, but to set your standards now that people will now have to come to accept, to create a proper legacy that whoever is coming after you now has to live up to. So.
And thank you so much. and that, indeed, that is my aim in terms of really setting a new standard. We are coming from, and if I could just set the foundation, because the St. Kitts Nevis Ombudsman Act of number 18 was actually laid before the Parliament in 2006. So we are looking at a number of years of the act itself, or the institution of the Ombudsman in the Federation. The office was open, the first office was open in January of 2009, the first ombudsman was appointed in August of 2008. He served that office from 2008-2017. At that point, the office became vacant.
Oh.
Yes. The act gives the Governor General, says whenever there is a vacancy in the office, the Governor General, after consultation with the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition, must appoint a suitable person to that position. And that is what they have done in this stead. The office is very critical to democracy, is an essential part. In terms of, if we have to look at this, we're talking about responsible, responsive, and efficient governments don't just happen by magic. So the office of the Ombudsman is an essential part of this good governance. Very important. Yeah. I will say to you that it is so important that even if myself acting, if I have to travel, if I am sick for a period of time, somebody has to act in the office. It means that the office must not be vacant at any time.
Yeah, I must say that it was a bit unfortunate that the office was vacant for 6 years. As a lawyer and as a lecturer of law at the CFPC, it was something that I really thought was a sore eye over the last 6 years. So I do commend the appointment to some, of an individual to this office. It's really needed.
I'm actually glad you told us or told our audience how you got to this position. It's not just the Governor General and the government. The opposition also has a say. And I think that makes the office even more interesting, because it's not that you're going to just represent one arm of our government, because our government is made up of the opposition as well.
Yes.
I want people to come to the understanding of what exactly it is can be brought to you. What are some of the things that your office is going to be dealing with? I know we already said maladministration, but tell us exactly what falls under that banner.
Okay. Well, just to let the citizens and your listeners know that the purpose of the Ombudsman, the Office of the Ombudsman, is to protect and ensure, yes, or if you have to look, enforce the rights of citizens. So we are talking about enforcing the rights of the citizens. So whenever somebody has suffered an injustice by public officials as a result of maladministration, that is something that we are looking at. We are talking about the proper things not being done. For example, I like to keep it simple, just down to the point of I am sending in an application for employment, a business license. 3 months after, no response. I call, nobody can give me an update. Because maladministration is not just what you do, is what you don't do. Delaying in making decisions, conducting investigation, coming to some sort of decision in terms of the person on the other end is waiting for response. And sometimes, and I'm not here to bash our public officers, because I think they're doing a wonderful job, but sometimes that's maybe the one little case that the Ombudsman have to pick up, is that the person on the other side feel that somebody's just sitting on their application, just not doing anything, no answer. These are areas that the Ombudsman, not only that, if somebody's being treated unfairly, maybe you feel that you're being victimized, these are cases that, for example, they just put you in an office, no desk, no chair, nothing, the condition is not right. Those are against the labor laws, because good working condition is needed for individuals. So people can't just make up things as they go and think, well, I can do whatever I can do because maybe I like you, I don't like you. For example, procedures. One of the things that the Ombudsman, the Act gives the Ombudsman to the authority to do is to go in and ask questions, get documentations from any public officials, interview anyone. So one of the things that I would like to know, 2 persons sending an application, one get an answer, the other one didn't get an answer. Well, why is it that you answer Peter but not Paul? You see, so we have to now look at the procedure that has to be followed. Not only that, the Office of the Ombudsman also could validate actions and procedure of the government, meaning the workers, because you did the correct thing. After the investigation, you said, yes, sir, respectfully, they followed the prescribed order or principles. And so it is not just to make government, if we can use the word, look bad, or, it is also to validate them that they followed the prescribed order, and just to put a check and balance, because the office of the Ombudsman is a mediator between government and its people.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I'm glad you said that because for me, I felt like, okay, we have somebody who is going to hold these people feet to the fire.
Yep.
Because as a one person, you know, it's difficult for, let's say I'm having an issue, for me to even be heard. But if I bring it to your office, then I probably stand a better chance because now this is somebody that is actually appointed to make questions, make queries, and possibly do something. So it leads me now to wonder, what is your procedure like? So let's say, and I was actually at a meeting last night. So when you mentioned business license, I was like, wow. I was at a meeting last night for creatives, and a lot of them were complaining about the length of time they were taking to get a business license. And I was in such shock because I never had any issues getting any of mine. And people were talking about 16 months and since September last year and all these crazy amount of time to get a business license. And so my question now is, what would your procedure be like? Someone came to you, they said, okay, look, I applied for this business license. It's taking 16 months. I'm not sure what's going on. I've been calling, What would be your procedure in order to get this matter resolved?
Well, first thing, the person will definitely give us the information, the dates, did you contact, how much time. Then after that, the inquiry starts. We call right to the department, letting them know that this person has made a complaint, a request for us to look into this matter. If we find that the information that we get from the authorities stating whatever, we know next step is investigation. Investigation, we write to the head, the senior officer, which is most of the time in these departments, are the permanent secretaries. Just to let the audience know the scope of the office of the Ombudsman. Government departments, every government department, public authorities, government boards, and corporations are under the scope of the Ombudsman, or any other entity that is passed by an act of parliament. So it's really is a lot of work.
It is.
Okay? It's a lot of work. But let's go back to the process. And so after that, we write to the head of the senior officer and indicate to them that there is a complainant, and we are called to investigate. We set a time and a place to come in to do our investigation. The person is informed that an investigation is being conducted. Also, they will also know the outcome in terms of we keep them abreast of what is being taking place and also the outcome. The next thing after that, after the investigation, is that we make recommendations. Recommendations to the senior officers in terms of the way forward. We give them a suitable time to correct or to enforce or to whatever word you want, to make sure that these recommendations are put into place. If after a reasonable time, and we know what a reasonable time is, we will call right again and said, okay, please give us an update in terms of these things. Normally, what I've seen in documentation, reasonable senior officers will write back to the office of the Ombudsman indicating that these steps has been followed, the recommendations are now enforced. We will now touch base with the complainant to make sure that whatever the senior officer has said to us is now correct statement. At that time, if it is so, that case is closed. Also, I want to say before you think that because people need to know that the complainant is also protected in this act. Not because you make a complaint, meaning after that people are going to want to victimize you. No. You are protected. And if that is going to be the case by any senior officers, it means that a special report will be tabled to Parliament, given to the Speaker, indicating that this person made a complaint and the senior officer is victimizing them or whatever. And this is serious business.
I actually was going to make the point too, because I'm glad you touched that, because the Ombudsman has the power to actually put the whole synopsis after they have already come to what has occurred to the floor of Parliament through the Speaker. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
And I like that you mentioned that they're protected, because you don't want persons to have fear in approaching you to get justice, to get an issue remedied if they feel like they're going to be victimized. So I'm actually glad you mentioned that.
I do believe too that, when you look at the Office of the Ombudsman, there are some regional shortcomings. Oftentimes, the notion is made that the Office of the Ombudsman is like a toothless animal, in the sense that when we look at the resources available to many of the ombudsmen in the region, they have a large task before them. And sometimes, I'm not talking about St. Kitts and Nevis, I'm talking regionally, the office isn't adequately supplied with the resources that are needed to actually make the office function.
But one of the things that I've already done my research,
yes,
and I realized the estimates there is a column marked the Office of the Ombudsman.
Yes.
And there is an amount.
Good job.
Okay. So, in terms of that, we are not supposed to be trying to get using a magnifying glass to find the monies, because it is already provided in the budget. And so it is for the office now. And this has been done even, I will say this, even
when it was vacant.
When it was vacant, the monies were there.
They have some backup monies for you.
According to it,
we could run some ads.
When one budget cycle passes, the monies that were allocated in the previous budget no longer goes forward.
Unfortunately, there's no rollover.
No rollover minutes.
But one of the things that we are all looking at is that we must have that collaboration between the citizens and also government, because we have to be making sure that people, and I call for citizens to be respectful, because sometimes we are having citizens who are very disrespectful, unfair to public work officials, especially workers. And so in my office, as we are standing there to be that mediator, I'm calling on citizens to be more respectful, and also the workers within government to be more tolerant. Because I know how it is when you're having an issue and you have nobody to listen to you.
And we've been there for too long.
Yeah.
So I welcome you.
I'm trying my best, and I know, and I told my good friend Azard of many years, I said to him, I have to make sure, when I come here, I will make sure clear the air, okay? And there's one thing I would like to say, that, because I know I saw, on my social media, I don't really pay too much attention to it, but there was an indication of a poster that was put out that says, protester becomes ombudsman.
Right,
Right. Even though it is half correct, because I did go in front of government headquarters, but I was not protesting because I had no placards, anything. Our church had an issue, and the only way I that came to me that it could have been resolved, it was through a point of prayer. Another option, which one of our learned QC had the case, was to go to court. He indicated to me that if it goes to court, government can prolong this thing to the point that the church could be bankrupt. It's a land issue. Mm-hmm. And so I told him, I said, I do not want it to go to court. Let us see. And I must say to you that when I went before, for 3 days, I stayed in front of government headquarters. I did not move. I didn't go home. I camped there for 3 days. I had no placards, nothing. It was a point of telling the government that they need to fix the land issue. They had enough time at the point to deal with it. And I must say, I've been pastoring over 25 years. That's the only time people get to know of me. Maybe it was that point. Some people knew me, but whatever. So I wanted to just make, not that I'm thinking whatever, because as I said, it's half truth. In terms of my qualification, in terms of dealing with that, I'm a certified, accredited international mediator, both civil and commercial mediator. And, Azard is a learned lawyer. He knows how important that is in terms of mediation. It means that I can work throughout the Caribbean mediating matters that persons do not want to go to into the court. Certified from London, so it means that some people may say, well, what about the payment, which I don't know what it is yet, but that is not my concern. I'm here to serve, right? I'm here to serve my people. If I wanted to make money, I only have to go and find cases, right, throughout the Caribbean. Yes, I can still do it, but I cannot mediate any matters within the Federation because of my role as the acting ombudsman, but conflict of interest. Yeah. And so I just want to state that, not that I am not perfect. I'm a humble soul from the Green Valley area, yes. Grew up in Keon. I'm proud of, we're proud of yourself, okay?
Yes.
We are trying to get as proud as Sandy Point, okay? But, yeah. But, Green Valley, I'm so happy for the opportunity to be given to act as ombudsman. I'm going to be fair, and as I said, even yesterday, I've already have my letter of resignation already prepared, because the day I cannot do my work, I'm out of there.
Wow.
And
interesting.
I can't say everything, but I've had meetings so far with the Prime Minister, with the Governor General. I'm going to see the leader of the opposition next week. I'm just trying to get an appointment. I'm going to be meeting all leaders of the political parties because we are here to serve people. In my areas, being a pastor, I don't care who you support. We're here to do a work, and all I said to be respectful to each other, and let's move ahead. And I'll end this in saying to those out there who think, and whatever, I am not a voter.
But to your point, where you said people felt that you were protesting, and you said you were in front of government. I always like to see things on the flip side, right? That should be a good indication to whoever it is questioning your position, that you're not afraid to stand up for what you believe in, that you're not afraid to call out things when you think that something is being wrong. So it might be an asset that you're fit for the role.
Just think about, and looking back, I'm just looking back at my own life. I've never been afraid. My parents told me, be respectful to all, but be afraid of none.
Mr. Williams, I have one question for you.
Yes, no problem.
Before we go, the original Ombudsman Act specifically excluded the electricity department. I'm wondering, has that changed now that a statutory corporation, SCELEC, has been set up to deal with electricity? Does the Ombudsman Act still exclude SCELEC, because SCELEC is now...
I have read my second Bible, which is the Act. that are,
I don't
and
know
I have
that.
not seen.
I don't,
no.
yeah, I don't think that.
Actually, Scallop is a part.
It is.
Yeah, it's a part.
Because
it's a corporation.
Section 3 speaks about the application.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So it is there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it includes the
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there are, because you're talking about a government-appointed board.
Yes.
The board is appointed by the government, so Scallop falls under that.
In two aspects.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it does. Yeah.
So I have to behave myself. You know?
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you came in here, you sound real good. So I'm sure you're going to be tested very soon as to how effective you are. So.
This is St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well, this is one. And I remember I was at a place just yesterday, and conversation was talking about so how easy it is for people to become corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that, and I'll tell myself, I've told myself this, I've been living, and God has been good to me, and all the other stuff. We have to understand that we are in transition. We are only here for a period of time. We make our mark, we do what we have to do, and then we leave.
Yeah.
What name you want to leave behind? And it was important that I said to you guys, I just made 50. Right? The reason why, if you have made a name for yourself up to 50, the Bible says only 70, so I have at least 20 more years.
10.
By reason of strength, you go beyond. Mm-hmm. What legacy you want to leave behind concerning your name? And that is why I said I've already had my letter prepared, my resignation, because if I cannot do my work and outside influence from government or whoever, I am going to resign. I must say this respectfully. I had in my meeting with the Prime Minister, I did communicate that to him. And he said to me, there will be no political or government influence from his office.
That's
good to hear.
Okay,
That's good to hear.
Mr. Williams.
Good.
Before you leave, it's
Thank you.
9:34. I want you to give the listeners your contact numbers and where your office is located. Give the numbers twice so that listeners can get them, and also give the address.
Yes, the address is upstairs, Lil Walwyn. I am located in the office of the Integrity Commission. The number, so let me go again. Liverpool Road, the Lil Walwyn building. Upstairs, I just try to give people the information in front of Carabana. You're going to see the sign on the opposite side, the office of the Integrity Commission. Come upstairs, press the buzzer, they will let you in. And the number is 466-64. Yeah, let me get this. 466-6436. And it is extension 304. And I will say that again. It is 466-6436, and it's extension 304. If you want to send an email, it is the Office of the Ombudsman at gov.kn. And so it is the Office of the Ombudsman at gov.kn. Yes, I have to get accustomed to that. Sorry, it's new.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for visiting us today.
Yes, good interview.
And definitely I will be back.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, we want to
for
keep
sure.
track and find out
Yes.
if things are actually moving along and how, citizens are getting justice.
And we want to keep them feet to the fire.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, as we ought.
Yeah.
As we are.
So thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Okay, great.
It's
No
been a
problem.
pleasure.
Okay, folks.
Have a good day today.
9:35, and that was the newly appointed ombudsman, Cyprian Williams. And we've got a black sand contact coming up. Because, next week it's all about black sand and Shensi and massacre and all that. Let's go take a break.
Do you want to improve the quality of your water? Is buying bottled water costing you a fortune? Say no to bottled water and yes to Tap Water Caribbean and Espol Water Solutions. We offer eco-friendly filtration products such as our Ultra Filter or our Bottle Pro for at home or on the go. Fill up anywhere. We also have a Shower Pro designed to protect and give you healthy skin. Visit us today at tapwatercaribbean.com or on Facebook and Instagram. Let's drink clean, pure, healthy water together. Remember, go green, save money, and save our planet.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Sardine have a new vibe. Brunswick sardine have a new. Brunswick sardine fillet. It have a new vibe. You hear what me say? Run go to your favorite supermarket or corner shop and grab a couple things today. Cause this a sitting where everybody a go like. Brunswick sardine have a new vibe. 5 different flavors for you to try. Brunswick sardine have a new vibe. Plus it boneless. Oh yes, that's right. Brunswick sardine have a new vibe. Packed with nutrition in every bite. It tastes nice. Brunswick sardine have a new vibe.
Hey kids, drink healthy!
Reduce sugar chubby with the same great taste. Lots of magic fruity flavors, drink the more healthy way.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Be active, be healthy, drink lots of chubby. Kicking football, playing cricket, having fun in the sun.
It's chubby.
Reduced sugar chubby keeps you cool and refreshed.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Jumping rope, running races, have fun.
It tastes so yummy, chubby.
Drink the more healthy way.
Had some discussions this morning. We started off with a little dice with the political talk, and then we went to Antigua and Barbuda with Vernon Springer. We then came back to St. Kitts and Nevis.
It's a busy morning here today. We didn't even get to do any positivity, so I'll hold it for tomorrow because we just went right into it this morning.
We did.
It's been quite an intense morning.
Yes, and we have soon Black Sand. The representatives from that organization, Black Sand Bangalang. I remember it as some time ago.
It's always been a catchy phrase for me. Yes.
And it's good to see that it's back. It's good to see that, despite the challenges, COVID-19, it is back and running. And I look forward to hear about what persons can expect of this year's hosting of Black Sand.
Right. Well, I've only seen 2 of their activities so far, so I'm intrigued to find out what the other activities are. I know they used to have a swimsuit pageant.
Yes.
And I kind of participated in that on the fringe, helping chaperone and swimwear and all of that. So I know of that part, but I haven't really seen if they had any contestants this year or if they're actually going to bring back that aspect of it. What I've been seeing is the international night, and I'm totally intrigued because I'm a Shensia fan.
Yes.
So I've seen that, and then I think I saw something about a lyrical something else. So it'll be interesting to hear what the list of activities are for Black Sand Bangalang.
Yeah.
And I've never actually been to it, so I'm definitely hyped up, and I'm going to be going this year.
As you have said, so I hope you take pictures.
Definitely. I might just drag you along.
You see, I could see you with your little
selfie. But while we wait on Black Sand, I wanted to just give you a little tidbit. So last night I went to a meeting for creatives, Creatives Connect.
Yes.
Because, I'm in the events field and we fall under that. So I went to the meeting, but in my head, I'm remembering that our minister there is also the Minister for Agriculture. And, we've had the Farmers Report and we've had some issues with getting that segment to move forward. So I timed it perfectly. So when he was leaving, kind of cornered him. I said, maybe we could probably try to get you on the show because we've been having, the voices of the farmers, but that is only one side of the coin. We would love to get your input, even if it's a call in or even if you could send a rep. And so I brought him up to speed with some of the grievances that we were made aware of. And I was told that he's very much aware of it. Even his extension officers and his PS, whenever they visit farms or, have a chat with the farmers, they bring back the reports to him. So it's not that he's not aware of it. And there's actually a database where they're preparing and they're actually working to resolve most of the issues. So I was happy to hear that because I did mention to him that one of the things that we need to focus on and push in St. Kitts is food security. I even mentioned that COVID brought it home to us even more. So hopefully that gives a little comfort to the farmers that, it's something that is being worked on and they should not feel any trepidation, going forward with voicing their concerns to the minister, to the field officers, to the PS, to the Department of Agriculture, whoever it is you guys have been, in contact with. I think that we are in a prime situation now that everybody has been, brought up to speed with what is actually happening. We're at a point now where it should just be results based.
Okay, guys. So 9:43. We're gonna do Gail Gray Phillips. She is the organizer of the Probing Innis lecture. She's gonna just come on Zoom for 5 minutes and tell us about tonight's event.
Awesome.
I don't know if you guys you guys probably saw the note I put in concerning the farmers.
Yes.
We could talk about that afterwards. But I just wanted to say that Troy Flanders made it clear that he has reached out to the agriculture department so that they can also participate in the farm report, so that there's balance.
Okay,
going
that
forward.
sounds awesome.
Lovely.
Yeah, good. And he said, like as you guys know, what for the benefit of the listeners, there should be a show next week. So we keep our fingers crossed.
We look forward to that. Yes.
So we move on to the Sir Probing Innis lecture series, and we've got Gail Gray Phillip on the line. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. She works at
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I think Azard, you know her. So you
Yes, I know her very well.
She visited us recently with the UE alumni activity.
And she taught me applied math at the CFBC.
How are you doing this morning? It's always good to see you.
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
I'm great, thank you. So this morning you're here to tell us a little bit about the Sir Probing Innis lecture.
Yes.
That's tonight, right?
That's tonight.
That's tonight. So, last month was History and Heritage Month, organized by the History and Heritage Committee. Mm-hmm. And one of the activities each year is formerly it was called the History and Heritage Public Lecture. But in 2018, it was renamed Sir Probing Innis Lecture after the passing of Sir Probing Innis in 2017. As you know, Sir Probing was a former Governor General for St. Kitts and Nevis. And he also served for many years as the president of the Brimstone Hill Fortress National Park Society. So this year, the theme for the History and Heritage Month of activities is celebrating 400 years of ancestral creativity and ingenuity. 1620 was the year when we had the first British settled in St. Kitts. Mm-hmm. So Professor Jessica Byron Reid is our guest speaker for this evening. Professor Byron Reid is from Nevis, so some persons may know her. She lectured for many years at UWI. Well, she worked in various capacities at UWI. She lectured at Mona campus in Jamaica. While at Mona, she was also head of Department of Government. She also worked at the campus in Trinidad and Tobago, our St. Augustine campus, where she was the director of Institute of International Relations. Before she went on this academic career, she served as a foreign service officer for the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, and then for the OECS, Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, and she was based in the East Caribbean High Commission in London, and she has published widely. So we are happy to have her lecture this evening. And just to say, it's not going to be a history lesson. That's not what it's going to be.
Yes.
She has some very thought-provoking ideas, and she's going to put a twist on the topic. So we want persons to join online. It's going to be an online event. So persons can join via the Open Campus St. Kitts Nevis site Facebook page. They can also join from the Open Campus Caribbean Facebook page. They can also join on our openuwi.edu live stream on YouTube. And on ECCB Connects. So ECCB is partnering with us to provide technical support. So Professor Byron Reed will be delivering her presentation from Central Bank. So everything will be streamed from Central Bank this evening. We're sure of reliable internet and a great presentation.
Very
So
nice.
I mean, before I say anything else, let me publicly thank ECCB for their support. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. It's great that they're on board because it opens it up to more persons. I feel like they have a wider
Yes.
reach as well. So kudos for that.
Okay, folks, so tonight the 2023 Sir Probin Innes Memorial Lecture celebrating 400 years of ancestral creativity and ingenuity with Professor Jessica Byron Reed.
Byron Reed. Yes, and persons can comment on any of those platforms, and she'll be able to see the comments and will be able to address any questions or any comments persons make. So we're looking forward to a very interactive session this evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
I am actually
Thanks.
intrigued. I would love to see the twist she's going to put on this topic. So I'll
Yes,
definitely be
yes,
logging
yes.
on.
Yes.
Yes, so see you online later.
Definitely.
Yes,
Have a good one
Thank you
today.
so much.
Okay, all right, great. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Okay, bye.
It's 9:49. We've got a representative from Black Sand coming up next. We're going to be rapping with Shermel about Black Sand 2023.
Black Sand 2023.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM. Sands Music Festival presents Knockshore Night, featuring international dancehall sensation Candisie. Def Jam recording artist Massacre. Live Saturday, April 8th at Sandy Point, St. Kitts. Get your tickets online now with Jadcash or contact 869-664-4179 for info. Black Sands Music Festival returns with Shansia.
No girl can't see me and cause problem. Them a man clown for me walk on them.
Massacre.
Start it and them a run help you walk
Plus
on.
live bands and local DJs. Knockshore Night, Easter Saturday, April 8th. A Palm Nations tour event.
Hey guys, we got Shermel. She is Tressa Wyatt's assistant at Black Sand. Tressa, what's up?
Sharmel.
Sharmel, sorry.
He's mixing up the names.
I'm telling you, yeah.
Sharmel?
I'm good.
Yes.
I'm good.
What can we expect of Black Sand this year?
Hi, Sharmel. Are you there? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Sharmel?
Sharmel?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not hearing anything.
Hey, Sharmel, can you hear us now?
Okay, you're not hearing us?
Yeah, she's saying she's not hearing us.
That's interesting. Okay.
Hello.
I'm hearing you now.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Okay,
We're asking,
nice.
what can we expect of Black Sand 2023? Well, 2023, yeah. I said that right, yeah. Sharmel?
Seems to be a really bad connection.
Sharmel, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now. I'm not. I think I'm breaking up.
Well, you're coming across
line.
quite clearly. We're just trying to
We're
figure
hearing
out
you
what you
good.
guys have planned for us this year for Black Sand Bangalang.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. We're hearing you loud and clear.
So, good morning. My name is Sharmel Freeman. I'm from Sandy Point. I am Teresa Wyatt assistant for Black Sand 2023.
Great. And what can
So
we expect
we're
this
asking,
year?
what can we expect of Black Sand 2023?
We are breaking up.
Oh no, this is a horrible connection.
I'm hearing every other word.
Yeah.
Really?
What are the activities for Black Sand?
Hello?
What are the activities for Black Sand this year?
Oh, okay. The activities for Black Sun start on the 1st of April. We're having the opening. The opening is going to be a street jam, which is going to start from Cleverly Hill on the main road and ends off at the hard court. At the hard court, we're going to be displaying persons who are taking part in the Juve and the parades. They're going to be showing their costumes and what we are expecting.
And what time does
And
this
the 7th, we have been a lyrical vendetta. That is where it's a competition between 13 local artists. That's going to be taking place at the Ground Gate Bar, that's also known as Jiran. Most people will know the bar as Jiran. That will be on the 7th.
Okay, 7th of April.
On the 7th of April, yeah.
I like that name, though. Lyrical Vendetta.
Yeah, lyrical vendetta. It's like we're trying to expose the local artists here.
Go ahead, we're hearing you.
There's about we're trying to expose local fellas who want to be, in singing. It's like a competition as well.
I was wondering, is it possible?
And whoever.
Is it possible that where you're standing might be affecting your transmission? Because can you maybe change your position, maybe get closer to your router, maybe?
Let me see.
Because I don't think the issue is here. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Hear me better?
A little bit
marginally, yeah.
No?
Yeah. Okay. So Sharmela, everybody's looking forward to Shensia, and actually, I didn't realize this is Shensia's first time here. I could have sworn she'd been here before. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to Shensia and Massacre. Go ahead.
Massacre, yeah. They're gonna be on the 8th of April. That's our nocturne night. Shensia, it's her first time in Sandy Point.
Oh, so I was right.
I think she has already been to St. Kitts, but it's Sandy Point.
But you know what happened? The video.
Black Sand.
We got a little drop with her, and she actually said her first time in St. Kitts. So I was confused because I was pretty sure she was here before. But she probably made a mistake. Maybe she meant to say Sandy Point, but she said St. Kitts.
Probably, Sandy Point. Okay. But it's Sandy Point. Sandy Point Black Sand. So yeah, they're gonna be here for Nakshua night, which is the 8th of April. Basika and Shensia. It's gonna be at the old recreation ground. Tickets are already on sale. Persons have already been buying their tickets.
Okay.
And on the 9th of April, we're having a boat beach party. That's going to be at Pump Bay at Rum Dog Beach Bar.
Sounds
On the 10th, that's
Easter Monday.
Easter Monday, that's our, Easter Monday, that's our
Your Juve. Okay.
The Juve.
Okay, and I should let you know that starting next week, we're going to be doing some Black Sand giveaways here on Win FM, on Island T, and Spin Cycle as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sure you know that, but I'm just letting the listeners know. Okay, so ticketing information, perhaps for people who might want to get tickets for the concert. Where can they get tickets?
For the concert, we have the Jada app, the Jada Cash app.
Yes.
You can also get physical ticket from Wyatt, myself as well. My phone number is 669-2978, and we have tickets going on at Champion Bar. I'm not so sure if they have any
That's a Port Dante.
anymore, but persons can check Champion Bar as well.
Okay.
Can you repeat your number, Sharmel?
Yeah, 669.
2978.
Okay, so 669-2978.
2978, yeah.
Okay, sure,
And
ma'am.
Sharmel, what are ticket sales looking like for the international night, and how are plans coming along?
Breaking up.
Oh no. What are ticket sales looking like, and how are your plans coming along?
Breaking up.
Oh my goodness. It seems as though we may have to end the call.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Let me ask her. We were wondering what ticket sales were like for the international night.
Well, we were selling tickets for $800 at Champion Bar. $100. But and then there's a tier package. There's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I think now we are at tier 2, which is $150.
Okay.
Is this VIP? Is this general admission?
She wants to know if it's VIP or general admission, the tier 2. Could you explain the tiers? Explain the tiers to us.
The tier 1 tickets were $125. The tier 2 tickets is $150, and the tier 3 ticket is $175.
Okay, so
VIP tickets, I think he has VIP tickets. I'm not so sure about the cost.
Oh, so that's separate from the 3 tiers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yes.
We look forward to the promotions. I'm sure persons out there are going to be listening to call in to get the free tickets.
Yeah.
So, and we'll keep our ears tuned to see what else develops as Black Sand continues in their promotions.
Great.
And of course, we invite you in at any time that is available. So especially when we're having the giveaways as well, so persons could be more informed about what is happening.
I imagine next week we'll probably have Tressa and maybe even Shermel here in studio, right, Shermel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for calling in this morning.
And you have a great day.
Yes.
And good luck with all the activities for Black Sand 2023.
All right, thank you.
No
Great.
problem. Yes.
Okay, guys.
That's a nice beat.
Yes, it is.
Interesting morning.
So, guys, we know, we have the Prime Minister's press conference
cabinet,
this morning.
yeah, the cabinet meet. Cabinet press conference.
Oh, is it?
All Prime Ministers, yeah. I guess.
Is it different? Oh, okay. Oh, so he would have all the full
Is
cabinet.
not all the cabinet gonna be there?
Okay,
I don't know.
I'm looking at. It says Prime Minister's press conference.
Oh, it says Prime Minister's.
Yes,
okay.
But it also seems that the cabinet will be there because they have his picture plus the others arrayed.
So we'll stay tuned for that. We've had quite a lot happening in St. Kitts in recent days.
Let's see what's happening.
Yeah,
and take a little snippets.
I won't get to play much music on the spin cycle today, but that's cool. At least
that's okay.
the country's more.
Briefing.
Yeah. The country's more important than the music.
And we've already started it off with these topics this morning. It's been a very heavy Thursday.
I'm definitely intrigued to hear, his views and his comments on the recent spate of killings.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm definitely going to stay tuned.
Definitely
to
persons
hear
are
what
listening about that.
And we are going to try and I'm thinking you can go ahead and plan for Peter for next week. We're going to try and have a show where we get him to take calls.
Yes.
And I'm going to be looking into getting someone else to join Peter. So I can't say anything yet until until the person
this
says.
This should be interesting.
It should be interesting. And Peter was into it this morning. I was surprised.
Yeah.
Politics, that's his
that's his thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's been quite a fruitful morning. I'm happy to be back with you guys.
We're happy to have you.
I noticed Jamster was the only person that missed me yesterday. I'm putting this on air now, so Azard now has to buy me lunch to make up. So
assumptions.
Good.
You know what they say. You know what they say about assumptions.
You gonna say that?
Right
That's what you're gonna go with?
I'm going with
this is going.
Right assumptions. Right assumptions. Right assumptions.
Thank you, Jamster.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure this morning.
Yes.
And I want to wish everyone an awesome day today, and we'll be back here tomorrow.
Join us on Island T.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And see you guys tomorrow.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. So don't forget, get Peter for next week.
Yeah, I'll speak to him.
I'll work on another guest.
I'll speak to him.
Don't want to jinx it, so I hope the person says yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So it's 10:03 at the end of Island T, start of spin cycle, but not really, because we're going to be standing by for the Prime Minister's monthly press conference, and we'll be bringing that to you live as soon as it starts.